During World War II, survival wasn't always about winning battles. It was about disappearing. From snipers in the forests of Eastern Europe to downed pilots in enemy territory, countless men stayed alive because of one remarkable innovation: the invisible shelter. It wasn't a bunker, and it didn't require metal, nails, or machinery. Yet it could be built in less than an hour, using only what nature provided. These shelters were so effective that they could conceal entire teams from patrols just meters away. Today we're uncovering the forgotten craft of the Second World War invisible shelter, how soldiers built them, why they worked, and how modern survivalists can use the same methods today to stay hidden, dry, and alive in the wild. The invisible shelter was born from a soldier's need to vanish quickly. By 1942, mobility and concealment had become vital in every theatre of war. Soldiers and commandos couldn't afford heavy tents or bright campfires that exposed them to aerial reconnaissance or enemy patrols. They needed shelters that could blend into the landscape, temporary, low profile, and adaptable. The result was a class of improvised hideouts collectively known among Allied and Axis troops as foxholes, spider holes, or natural concealment shelters. But the best among them weren't simple holes in the ground. They were strategic field shelters, crafted from the terrain itself, often undetectable even from a few feet away. Elite units like the British Commandos, the Finnish ski troops, and German Fallschirmjäger perfected the art. They learned to build these invisible sanctuaries fast, sometimes under fire, and in any kind of terrain, forest, tundra, or ruined urban landscapes. The key was not strength or size, but shape and camouflage. The shelter's first job was to break the human outline, the one shape nature never makes. Once that was done, the rest was about insulation and water control. The process, well, it all began with location. Soldiers were trained to read the landscape like hunters, you know. They'd look for natural depressions, fallen trees, or thickets that already offered a bit of cover. Finding a perfect spot meant less digging and, much faster concealment. Once the location was chosen, they'd dig a shallow trench, just about the length of the body and no deeper than knee height. The depth was really crucial. It allowed for warmth retention without exhausting the builder, or drawing too much attention with all that displaced soil. The base of the shelter was lined with dry leaves, grass or pine needles to act as insulation. The walls, if the soil was soft enough, were reinforced with branches or roots to prevent a collapse. But, you see, the real genius came from the roof. Soldiers would weave together a lightweight frame using flexible branches or saplings, then cover it with a tarp, a poncho, or even a waxed ground sheet if they had one issued. Over that they'd pile a thick layer of local vegetation, moss, grass, leaves, or in some cases snow, to blend it perfectly with the surrounding terrain. In snowy regions like Finland or Norway, this exact same method produced what were called snow holes, dug right into snowbanks, lined with branches, and then sealed with a snow cap that worked as both camouflage and insulation. These could, remarkably, maintain internal temperatures just above freezing, even when outside it dropped below -20 degrees Celsius. Soldiers could lie in them for hours, completely invisible to enemy patrols or aircraft. The entire structure could be built by one man in 45 minutes or less, and when it was time to move, it could be dismantled in minutes, leaving virtually no trace. Quite efficient, wouldn't you say? The brilliance of the WWII invisible shelter wasn't just in camouflage, it was in thermal and visual balance. You see, a fire, even a small one, could reveal a soldier's position by smoke, smell, or infrared contrast. These shelters instead use passive insulation and low ground positioning to trap body heat. The earth itself acted as both shield and blanket. Remarkable, isn't it? From above, aerial spotters couldn't distinguish these shelters from natural ground irregularities. From the ground, they blended so well that soldiers often reported walking directly past enemy hideouts without noticing them. In the Pacific, US Marines used palm fronds and mud layers to create near-perfect jungle camouflage shelters. In Eastern Europe, partisans used underground burrows hidden under logs, complete with concealed air holes. It's quite fascinating how they adapted to different environments, don't you think? The same principles remain true for modern bushcraft, you know. Concealment isn't about complete disappearance, it's about breaking up patterns. A straight line, a shiny surface, or a regular shape. Well, those give you away much faster than movement ever could. The soldiers of the Second World War learned to work with the natural randomness of the terrain, not against it. If you ever find yourself out in the wild, whether it's for survival training, reconnaissance, or even just a bit of stealth camping, you can apply these same principles quite effectively. Start by looking for natural depressions or windbreaks. Always try to work with existing features rather than altering the landscape dramatically. The less you disturb, the less you reveal. Dig just enough to lower your body line, not so much that you exhaust yourself or expose fresh soil that stands out against the environment. Use whatever is naturally available for roofing, branches, reeds, even tall grass, and cover it with materials that perfectly match your surroundings. Think about texture and colour, not just colour alone. In dry areas, use sand and brush. In snowy terrain, use compact snow and pine. That really makes all the difference. If you need insulation, well, just layer leaves or dry vegetation beneath and over yourself. Never build large fires inside or near such shelters. Use body heat and insulation instead. For long-term concealment, it's wise to create an escape route or secondary exit. WWII. Scouts always planned for unexpected discovery, and finally always dismantle or conceal the structure when leaving. Leaving an exposed hideout after use was, honestly, one of the easiest ways soldiers got tracked during reconnaissance missions. The effectiveness of this approach isn't just historical, it's practical. Many modern special forces and survival experts still use these exact methods because they work without tools, fuel, or visibility. In an era obsessed with high-tech gear and pop-up shelters, the World War II invisible shelter is, well, a reminder of how simplicity, skill, and adaptability can really outperform gadgets. It proved that survival in hostile environments depends on understanding your surroundings and minimizing your footprint. These shelters kept men alive, under enemy eyes, across continents, in every imaginable condition. For historians, They reveal the ingenuity and discipline of soldiers who used nothing but nature and willpower to stay alive. For survivalists, they represent one of the purest forms of self-reliance, using knowledge instead of equipment to master the elements. Whether you're studying military history, practicing bushcraft, or simply fascinated by the forgotten art of field survival, the invisible shelter remains one of World War II's most practical and enduring lessons. If you found this deep dive into the invisible World War II shelter insightful, make sure to subscribe to In the Beginning, where we uncover the lost skills, fieldcraft, and forgotten technology that shaped the modern world. Share this video with fellow history and survival enthusiasts, and let's keep rediscovering the knowledge our grandparents used to survive the impossible. Knowledge that still works just as well today.